We are back on this 2019 Yamaha VXC Wave Runner. I bought this thing about 3 months ago right now as a mystery damaged jet ski that claims it only needed a few parts to get it running. Mainly wiring and some jet pump stuff and a few other little things that were supposed to be able to fix this thing and get it running. So far we have replaced the whole motor because the original one had multiple holes in it. Jet pump assembly stuff. We knew that was missing, but there was a lot more missing than what was told. Wiring harness, a whole new wiring harness in this thing. The fuse panel, because the old one was all corroded. A computer, because one of the ports was corroded and a lot of the pins were broken off from the corrosion. Plus a lot of other little things such as the steering cable and a lot of other missing things that I already knew of, but still, it adds up. Last episode we installed all that hoping this thing would run. Turns out it is still not running. The main issue we're having right now is that it cranks, it's just not starting. We learned quickly that it's not getting any fuel or any power to the fuel filter itself, and the dash is not working. I have learned recently that the dash needs to be working for this thing to start. So that is where we're going to start off this whole video, is tracking down the wiring, checking all the fuses. This fuse panel was tested before I bought it. We just need to double check it, make sure there's no fuses blown or anything like that. But we're going to check all the plugins, make sure there's no corrosion or anything that is holding up this thing from starting and getting power to the dash. I am not sure this dash works. It hasn't worked since I bought this thing, but there was also a lot of corrosion in the old wiring harness, so it makes sense that this thing didn't work, but we're not sure it works in the first place. The guy I bought everything from, the computer, the engine, all the wiring harness from, has been very helpful. He's been helping me kind of diagnose this thing and tell me where to look at. He says the dashes on this thing don't really ever go out, so we're hoping this thing still works and it's just some kind of wiring issue somewhere in it. So that's what we're going to start off with. We're going to test to make sure there's power getting to the dash. If there's not, then we can track it back to the fuses and double check all the wiring in the wiring harness itself. We're hoping this is a simple issue. I don't know what else it can be because all the wiring has been replaced, so hoping simple. Please be simple. Let's get to it. Test out that wiring, track it down, figure it out, start this thing. Let's do it. So close, but now we don't have power again. All right, let's get up to date on this thing because there's a lot to talk about in a short amount of time in that video. The problem was we were not getting any fuel and the dash was not working. We need fuel to start, obviously, and on these things, the dash needs to work for it to be able to start. Took out the fuse panel because we checked all the wiring, made sure everything was plugged in. So next step was check the fuse panel. Took it apart, noticed that there was a little bit of corrosion in it, so I cleaned that up, plugged it back in, and boom, we got fuel. And the dash was lighting up. Very surprising. Did not think it was going to light up like that. It was working for maybe a minute before it turned off again. So figured something to do with the fuse panel. Cleaned it, took it apart again, cleaned it really good, sprayed it all down, plugged it back in, still nothing. It is still trying to start, but the dash is not lighting up and the buzzard is not working at all. So with all that in mind, I was thinking, has to be fuse panel. Fuse panel is probably bad. So went ahead and ordered another one of those, threw it in, exact same thing. It's trying to start, but the dash is not lighting up, not even buzzing. Sometimes it will occasionally buzz, but maybe for like a couple seconds, and then it turns back off. So you think it's something in the wiring, but I have checked this wiring at least 10 times. I've unplugged it all 6 times, plugged it back in, cleaned all the connections, still nothing. So that leads me to thinking that it's the dash itself. The dash is like shorting out or something like that. Now the reason I think that is because I checked all the fuses, it's all getting power, everything is working once you press the start button. It's getting power to the dash itself. I don't know which ones are supposed to have power, but it is getting power there. There's 3 wires that go to it. I'm assuming a ground, the red wire, and the white wire. I'm assuming the white wire is supposed to get power. That is not getting power. But the red one is, so I feel like something should be powering on here, and there's nothing powering on. So that is why I'm thinking it's more towards the dash. That or maybe the computer. I don't think so. Everything else is seeming to work. It just seems kind of weird that the dash is the only thing that's not working. All the fuses are getting power. It's cranking, it's trying to start every single time, but it obviously can't if the dash is not giving us power. It did throw one code at us. It was the air box, and that's because I didn't have a fuel filter in there and it was open, so I'm assuming that was the issue. I am looking around to see if I can find a dash. On eBay, they are at least $400, and I'm over it. I'm over putting money in this thing. So I'm trying to find someone who owns one that will send me the dash, and if it works, I'll buy it from them. That if not, I can just send it back. I know that's asking a lot, but I just don't want to put more money into this if I'm not positive that's the problem. Because it could be another computer, it could be the wiring harness, it could be a lot of things, and all that stuff is right around $400 each. The computer is like $800, so I'm really hoping it's not that. But I just can't keep buying all this stuff used, not being able to return it, and hoping that's the problem. I need this thing out of my garage because, as you can tell, I have no room in here anymore. So my plan right now, I am going to get this thing running. I promise it will be running. I hope so. I am not giving up on it, but I need to finish what I need to do in here so I can get this thing out of here and not have to put it back in. I can't keep putting it in and out because I have no way to get it in and out. So with that being said, I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to put a new paint job on the top, just a normal white paint job just to clean it up. And I have a wrap I am going to put on it just to get all that done and out of the way. I already have all the materials. I've already paid for it all, so I'm not putting more money into it than I have to. It's just putting time into it that I have nothing to do until this thing is out of here, so might as well be doing it. I'm moving my hands so much. That's why I like to hold something to calm it down. I'm going to take off all these decals, clean up the nicks and scratches and cuts and stuff in it, and throw a new paint job on it. I've done this before, pretty self-explanatory, but let's do it. It may not run, but at least it looks really pretty. It looks really cool. I love how this turned out. This wrap is from AMR Racing Graphics, and they make so many different kinds of wraps for multiple different kinds of jet skis, ATVs, a ton of different applications. They have pretty much everything. All of it is made to order. They have a ton of different designs that you can choose from. If you see a wrap you like, but they don't have it for your actual ski model, you can ask them and they will make it for you right there. Along with that, they can also add your identification number along with any logos or added things you want to add when you make the order. This is all pre-cut out and easy to install. It just takes a little bit of soapy water and a squeegee. Goes on very nicely. This is all pre-cut, delivered to your door with a high quality wrap material that resists a lot of scratching and wear and will last a long time in the sun. This wrap material is a lot thicker. I think it's gonna hold up a lot longer than what I used on the Sea-Doo. Their link is in my description. You can check them out, see if you wanna redesign your ski. It's pretty easy to do. You don't have to repaint your ski. Mine was just already damaged enough, so I decided to throw a fresh coat of paint on it. Still need a couple more things to make this complete again. The seat, for one. The seat is very ugly, mismatched vinyl material. This vinyl in the back is falling apart. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrap it with a matching yellow and carbon fiber black to go along with the rest of the ski. Along with that, I ordered new hand grips and a new mat for the bottom here because I had to rip that up when I was repainting it. If you're wondering what I'm going to do about it not running, I already ordered a new speedometer. That is the only thing I can think of that's not working right now. So I bit the bullet on that, ordered one around $200. So hopefully that fixes the issue. If not, I don't know. Let's go ahead and work on these seats since we are waiting for that part to come in anyway. Get all that cleaned up and hopefully ready to go once this thing starts up. Doesn't she look so pretty? She looks awesome. If only she ran awesome, that would be ideal right now. First, let's talk about cosmetics. New seat, or a new seat covering at least. Custom made this, pretty easy, just sewed it together, and it wasn't super hard. Not perfect, doesn't color match exactly perfect to the wrap itself, but it's close enough. People get the idea. Yellow and black carbon material that match the wrap, because the black on the wrap is actually carbon too, so kind of ties together. New handlebars. These are just cheap $9 handlebars that match the seats more than everything else. The color matches the seat better than the wrap, but still looks pretty good. And finally, new floor mats. These are really cool looking. These were only about like $40 more than just normal black ones that you can buy from any online store. A couple issues with it. One, it's in China. You had to buy it on AliExpress and it took a few weeks to get here. Also, you may notice the cutout for the water spout was a little off, so I had to cut a new hole for it. Should be okay. There's no water gonna be leaking in there. It's all sealed off pretty good. So it's pretty much done and ready to go in the water, besides the fact that it does not run. That we still haven't figured out yet. I went ahead and bit the bullet and bought a new speedometer. $200 used, just had it shipped to me. Cheapest I could find, and plugged it in, still didn't fix the problem. So luckily the guy I bought it from owns a rental company up in Jacksonville. He was able to walk me through what the issue is. And basically the issue is I put the wrong computer and the wrong harness in it. Or I said earlier, maybe last episode, when I switched it off, I saved money by going to an older model. The problem is that older model was not compatible to this like the previous guy I bought all that stuff from said. Basically, the computer and harness I bought still is trying to run a cruise control and reverse bucket and a bunch of other electronics that it does not have, so it's getting confused when it's plugged into this thing. That's probably why the dash turned on for a little bit and then turned back off and hasn't came back on yet. Also could explain why it's not starting. It cranks over, everything's fine, but it's not starting. He also told me, and confirmed this by trying it out on his own skis while I was on the phone with him, he was able to unplug his dash and get it started without the dash working. So obviously the dash is not the problem at all on this thing. It is probably the ECU and the wiring harness. I have to switch it all back to its correct model. He also told me a lot more, like the fuel injectors are a different color for what the ECU is programmed for, so it's putting out more fuel than it needs. That's probably why it sounded like it was flooding whenever it was almost trying to start, when the dash was working that little bit. He was very helpful. Unfortunately, he didn't have the parts I needed, so I had to order them from somewhere else. If you guys have a 2019 VXC, I'm gonna put the computer model number down below. I need a computer. I think I can make the old wiring harness work. I might be able to splice them in from this new harness I have. I'm gonna try that first because a harness is around $400 at least. Computer itself, I found one for $650. If you can find one cheaper than that, please let me know. I have my email right here. You can email me or leave it in the comments, or my Instagram too. You can message me there. Trying to get this thing running. I'm still determined. It's all looking pretty. It just needs that, I'm pretty sure. So to have a nice little rundown, it needs a new computer, needs a new harness. That we know, because this one that I have now does not work for the ski model. Does not work with the fuel injector. It still thinks it has a reverse bucket and the cruise control option. It has a lot of extra options that it's not running for this ski because the ski does not have it. I could probably talk a lot more about all the issues this thing has and what have we gone through, but you've seen it, you've watched the videos. There's a lot off camera that I haven't shown either, that me just working on this for hours and not accomplishing anything because I couldn't accomplish anything with the bad computer. So I was running wires, checking everything, and it's not working with this computer, so that's what it needs. Next update, it will be either running or I will be setting it on fire. So you can stay tuned for that. Don't know how long it's gonna be. Might be a few weeks before I get a new computer in. Find a cheaper computer, find one that works. Hopefully a reliable source too, because I'm having a big issue with that apparently. I will see you guys then when that video drops of them both working on the water at the same time. Hopefully. All right. Goodbye.